Hi, it's Tootie Tagerly, Tuesdays midday from San Francisco. I recently wrapped a leadership group of a small group of 12 people over 6 weeks, and have been running these groups over the past months through the spring and early summer. And they say we teach what we most need to learn, which is true. I learn as much from all the leaders in the course equally, and I think they learn as much from each other as they do from me. So today I'm sharing four lessons that I've pulled together from my experiences in these groups, and then more recently, especially with my co-facilitator, Jim. I'm going to share them with you today. The first one, my ultimate favorite topic, and the name of my book as well, is Make Space to Lead. Recently in these group sessions, one of the participants said that this was the only hour of his week where he was willing to turn off everything, turn off Slack and Figma and all the other things, actually make the Zoom window full screen and completely give himself into this experience. I think it was able to happen because we created a safe space, a place where people could come and experiment, not be judged by colleagues, coworkers, a separate other space where they could pause, think, consider their leadership, consider what mattered for them, and choose to take action on what really mattered in a safe and supportive place. I talk a lot about being versus doing. And in this corporate world, in this world of tech, in this world of getting shit done, we do a lot. So it's rare and so beautiful to be able to make the space to commit to this group, to your leadership. And one of the things that I really learned through this is that in this last series of classes, but in every series of classes, I have so much content that I want to go through, so much that I want to teach, that I want people to experience. And it's always too much. I want to shove in and do so much, and it's always too much. Goes back to the keep it simple, stupid. Keep it to like the one thing, one point, one thing, one takeaway, one emotion, and truly embody it and practice it and practice it and practice it until you know it in your bones. So it's slowing down, it's doing less, it's making the space to lead, it's making the space to focus on that one thing that really matters. So that's the first lesson from the groups, make space to lead. Jim and I teach recently around this notion of a leadership North Star, where leadership starts with me, and you can lead from any position, whether it's through doing particular projects, working with people, or figuring out how to lead an org, even when you don't have a title and a perception of power. But through all of that, the theme that came through over and over again in all of these groups is relationships first. We show up at work, we show up at home, we do all these things because we care about the people we work with. It's the people, it's the values, it's the relationships and connections that you build in them. We all know this, I think, deep down. And what happens is that you get really busy. You know that you only have 20 minutes left in this meeting, and you want to get those answers, those decisions, those to-dos in order to unblock and move your work forward. You know that you do care about people, but you feel like you have so little time and you're already so overwhelmed with everything that you're juggling. And one of these brilliant workshop participants coined the term transactional leadership as something that she wanted to move away from. That notion of let's just get down to business and get shit done. Because in the short term, that feels good, that feels right, that feels like the thing to do to kind of get through that long checklist and to-do list of the day. But ultimately, it's not nourishing. Ultimately, it's like eating a diet of flaming hot Cheetos and chips. You get this stuff done, but when you walk away, it doesn't feel good because it's not relationships first. Relationships at work and at home, that's the key to fulfillment and leadership. having the relationships, being seen for who you are, what your strengths are, regardless of or with your full identity in race, gender, beliefs. Yeah. The other thing around this, relationships first, and the trap of transactional leadership is that we get into conflict all the time. We tend to get into conflict with, oh, there's a difficult person. There's a difficult person. They're here to make my life difficult and stand in my way. So when we fall into thinking about transactional leadership and really needing to get done, then everyone becomes an obstacle and everyone becomes a difficult person in a difficult relationship, including ourselves, because we're not happy with where things are at. So one theme that keeps coming up consistently, more so than the organization, the projects that you do, is this people. People matter the most in leadership around the relationships. That's the second lesson. The first being make space to lead. The second, relationships first. The third, in the workshops, I definitely have a curriculum and a way, things to teach, tools, actions and lessons, actionable things to move away from. But really, it all goes back to basics. The core of leadership is listening. And the core of leadership is listening for perspective and empathy. I think that we went deep into listening in one lesson, which was about thinking about the different levels of listening, thinking about the three levels of listening. From level 1, focusing on myself, noticing how I'm feeling, noticing how I'm triggered, telling my story, sharing all that, to level 2, focusing on the other person, on the people around, to hear what you're saying, hear your words, see your face, see your tone, see your emotions, paying attention to that, to a level 3 listening, where we're looking at the space that we share together. We're looking at, things that are happening in the space, whether it's an earthquake like the tremors yesterday, just south of Oakland and in San Francisco, whether it's noise, whether it's, now that we're at home in our Zooms, whether it's like a pet running by. Many of you see my cat when we talk to each other. So, part of it is listening to these 3 levels of listening, learning these 3 levels of listening. But more than that, what we learned is that you might think you're listening at this level, but you can go deeper and deeper and deeper. We actually circled back and spent 2 or 3 weeks focusing back on listening, because what listening opens up, when you hear from other people's stories, hear what other people are learning about leading from any position, it gives you different perspectives, and it opens up more possibility to be like, oh, she did that. Oh, he learned like that. Oh, she encountered this situation. Oh, they worked with this type of people in this way. That opens up for different perspectives and possibility. And listening always leads to more empathy. If the person's vulnerable and sharing and going deep, then you get a sense of what they're going through, what they're feeling, to be able to really get that. So that's one of the core of the leadership secrets. Listening. Listening unlocks perspective and empathy. And then the last point, the fourth point, which I think was the hope for most and all of these leadership coaching, leadership workshops, is to truly know that leadership starts with me. Doesn't matter if you're a CEO or an intern. Doesn't matter what position you have in the company, what title you have in the company. You can step up. You can step up and choose to share your passions and what lights you up through the projects and work you do. You do it through how you relate with other people, how you listen to them, how you interact with them, how you slow down to hear what really matters to them. And you do that by taking action and speaking up at the organization level, or doing things that feel like they are impactful. Because it is really hard, if not impossible, to get someone else to do something, to get someone else to change. If they report to you, you might be able to force them to do it, but they're not going to like it. But yet, if you lead by example, if you model, if you go inward and shift yourself, because leadership starts with me, then there's orders, magnitudes of how that might work across someone else. So in terms of leadership lessons from the recent groups that I've gone through, I wanted to share 4. Make the space to lead, make the space to invest in yourself and your leadership, to slow down and break patterns, get out of everyday life, to give yourself time to think about it. Second, always the key to leadership, starting with relationships first, moving away from that go, must be transactional leadership. The key skill, listening. Listening opens up perspective and possibility. Listening helps you connect to others through empathy. And then finally, when you lead from any position, it starts with you. Whether you're the intern or the CEO, title doesn't matter. The next group coaching that I'm offering starts in September. We're going to hit on these lessons and more. I run a program with my colleague Jim called Leading from Any Position, and you can go there to learn more about it. Until then, follow me, Instagram, LinkedIn, sign up in my newsletter. There is tons of content that I will keep creating and sharing. All right, chat soon. Bye.